So we've just seen the Rothschild Pope, who's brought in to get rid of the German Pope when they said they collapsed the Vatican's funds if they didn't bring in the Rothschild puppet Pope. The lowest piece of scum on the planet has just dropped dead on Easter Sunday, when Christ was supposed to pull himself out of hell using my energy, because I was supposed to be screaming in the American torture facility. And of course I'm beaching in Vietnam. And of course intent is going after all the unjust, and this filthy piece of scum was absolute vermin. The Rothschild Pope, and here's Max Blumenthal on Judge Napolitano explaining why this was the lowest piece of filth.
And disappearing. Journalist telegram channels in Hebrew of the Pope's death. Pope Francis, who was involved with the Argentinian junta, which during Operation Condor in South America was disappearing many Jesuit priests who were sheltering dissidents and socialists that these US-backed fascistic regimes were hunting down and disappearing. Pope Francis at that time, he was a much younger man, collaborated, and this was a guilt that stayed with him throughout his life. It was a heavy burden, and his way of unburdening himself of this.
So you can see that this Rothschild puppet Pope got lots of freedom fighters who were fighting against the junta in Argentina, which was simply an outreach of the Rothschild Empire and the American filth. Got the priests who were sheltering the people that the junta wanted to torture to death. He not only made sure that the junta knew which churches were harbouring freedom fighters, but he also got the priests arrested, tortured, and finally the Argentinian junta, after torturing them, raping them, etc., etc., and of course stealing all their monies and property, they then got a free air trip over the South Atlantic and had free parachute lessons from the junta's planes without parachutes. So you couldn't recover the bodies because they were all fish food. And this is the quality of the Rothschild Pope that was supposed to pull Jesus out of hell. And of course, since chaos is self-similar, you get one Pope, you get them all. So Jesus was never able to resurrect because the Pope was the rock upon which the Elohim's church stood, and you can think of Jesus in hell pulling himself out via his rock, which in the first case was Peter, who said he didn't know Jesus, so he was the first Judas. So as you can see, the Elohim, which of their own free will, via the Twisted Grail state, was stuck in Omega Hell, we're going to come out on Easter Sunday, because of course the energy, the light to pump into their Jesus, to then give to them, would be got from me screaming in the American torture facility, where Richie Sunak had guaranteed I'd be arrested upon my arrival in the UK and flown off to Obama's torture facility, which might be miles underground, you know, with the aliens. You can imagine the filth of the American scum. And of course they had the conduit revelation of the methods. Oh, this is the real Tim Refat. If you don't discredit him, you're accepting that the Jews take all Tim Refat's power, which of course is Jeremiah Schwartz, the psychic warfare Stargate program for the CIA, DIA, NSA. So you see the big game. So the Elohim finally locked in Omega Hell forever, and like Schrodinger's cat, we go out the box, and the Elohim are dead. And all the Jesuses never got out of hell because of self-similarity. Therefore, there was no Satanization of Lucifer. There's no devil, there's no Satan, only Lucifer. Lucifer, of course, is running my torture facility, where the Pope is screaming now, and everyone that uplines to the Pope got pulled into on Easter Sunday. So you can imagine it was a fun time. And if you've got Pope service, what you need to do is the Duo Star Wars protocols, the spiritual warfare, where you wake up twice in the Pope before he died. So he has to pay for you as well, and everyone that uplines the Pope. And since, of course, he's the Rothschild Pope, the Rothschilds and Rockefellers and the royal family, because remember Charles went to see Popey Boy with Camilla 12 days before he kicked the bucket. So, wonderful. This was the end of the game. Elohim forever gone. But as you can see, the Elohim are coming back, and yours truly was going to be screaming and supplying the light to the Jesus that turns Lucifer into Satan and pulls the Elohim, Adonai, Sabaoth, Yahweh, Tetragrammaton, strange attractor away from the hell state which is descended into, all at my expense. And not having that, so as you can see now, this was the end of the game, and all future popes are Omega Hellized, all past popes Omega Hellized, all Jesuses Omega Hellized, and everyone uplines past, present, future to the Pope Omega Hellized. Happy ending, unless you're a Catholic. So here we've got a Jew boy, Jack Schlossberg, is accusing J.D. Vance of murdering the Pope. So it looks like, according to this nitwit, okay, J.D. killed the Pope. You can see the Democrats are well in with the Rothschild Pope, because remember Obama came over to see Sunak to arrange to cart me away to the facility, so we know the Democrats are Satan's spawn. And here's good news for Taylor Swift. Pfizer warns vaxxed men not to have sex with women of childbearing age. So the Pfizer poster boy, gold digger, Travis Kelce, is the perfect man to breed garbage with Taylor Swift. So the sooner they get Shannon Preston in, the better. And here's the Rothschild Pope. His final words: there is no God in the afterlife. No, but there's Lucifer, and he's screaming as we speak. He said that paedophiles can find a place in heaven. No, they've got free entry to Lucifer's Omega Hell, and the nonces are getting special Luciferic attention. He insisted that Christianity must merge with Islam to form a one-world religion. I think not, since Christians worship the Elohim and Islam worships the source. And as you found out, the source is not a nice God. He declared that atheism and Satanism are valid pathways to God. So you can see how this Rothschild puppet has been screwing with the Catholics. They don't know whether they're coming or going. And his close friend Klaus Schwab, architect of the Great Reset, is more important than Jesus in these end times. So the Pope said Klaus Schwab was more important than Jesus. Luckily, he got done in with Jesus on Easter Sunday. Now, cameraman, do you think, as a Catholic, that he was a proper Catholic?
I'm not a Catholic.
Wait, Irish? You Irish Catholics, aren't you? Anyway, next one. He was clinically dead for 21 minutes in hospital, and when he passed over, he found no God in the afterlife. No Jesus, no love, only darkness and demons. Yes, yes, yes. You know why? Because you whisked off to Lucifer's holiday camp. So, get the Pope service. It's a must-have, and you can feed off all of the unjust Catholics. Not the just Catholics, all the unjust Catholics. That's the thing. If you're a just Catholic, then it won't work, because remember, they branched the Catholic people. All the just Catholics were with the German Pope, who was kicked out by the Rothschilds, who threatened to bankrupt Vatican City, and all the unjust Catholics, what I call the false Catholics, all worship the Satanist filth. So all the unjust Catholics can be bled dry by someone with a Pope service. All automatic. Anyway, let's go to the Borg, because the Borg are the food supply for the vampires. These things feed us. Here are the Borg. Not him.
We're fellow YouTubers who have dropped dead recently or been diagnosed with turbo cancer.
We continue to see young and previously healthy people from all backgrounds dropping dead. But why is this happening? In June of this year, a prominent YouTuber with a large following running the YouTube channel called Pretty Pastel Please unfortunately passed away. Now, she was only 30 years old, and the diagnosis was lymphocytic myocarditis. This is a condition of the heart. Now, whilst this used to be uncommon, this year has seen a long list of influencers who have seemingly died suddenly and unexpectedly for no apparent reason. It comes off the back of another prominent influencer named Farah El-Khadi. She was an architect. She died of a cardiac arrest while she was on vacation in the same month. Now, she was only slightly older at 36 years old. And just 3 years older than her, viral TikTok influencer Dr. Tatiana Guluarte sadly passed away a few months just before in March. Now, it doesn't seem as though the cause of death was reported for this one, although there is a report of a potential brain aneurysm. We also saw the death of yet another influencer in the same month. This was after a year-long battle with cervical cancer, which was pretty fast-acting, and she was only diagnosed the year before. Her name was Jessica Petway, once again, just 36 years old. A lady from Brazil who ran a similar channel. She had a large following. She was 35 years old. She also died of a heart attack at the start of December. Also in Brazil, this time last year, Larissa Borges, she died of a double cardiac arrest. So we're starting to see a very strange pattern here. Women in their early to mid 30s primarily, who are passing away for seemingly uncommon and rare conditions. I mean, it's just a coincidence that some of these influencers were publicly advocating for a certain medical procedure. And it's clear now that news outlets are forced to report on this. They simply cannot deny it. So here we have women's heart attacks rising, particularly among those 30 to 50 years old. So this is definitely a thing, guys. The same goes for turbo cancers. In fact, if we look at this graph here, we can see cancer rates have risen exponentially since 2021. Of course, the cause is a complete mystery. And actually, on this topic, in a tragic twist of fate, we have a Fox News reporter who was recently diagnosed with a turbo cancer himself. And the crazy thing is, his wife was also diagnosed with cancer not long before. I mean, so you have this couple who have both got cancer and are both battling it simultaneously. I mean, this is really tragic for the family, but what are the chances of that? I don't know about you guys, but looking at this graph, I can see one thing which might be able to explain it.
The medical establishment and mainstream media will still be claiming the vaccines have nothing to do. So the question becomes, what are these signals for? Tracking? Data transfer? Remote activation? And more importantly, were these people microchipped without their knowledge? These aren't just fringe whispers anymore. Independent investigators, including former telecom engineers and medical examiners, are now reporting that corpses of individuals vaccinated after 2021 are emitting traceable radio frequency signals. Not hypothetically, not in theory, in real observable terms.
Good guys, gone in 2021. It's a wild guess why, but we're running.
Brain, but from the grid. Suddenly, the Bluetooth emissions, the MAC addresses, the strange biosignals being picked up and back associated with 5G. We're talking about a substance that behaves like a conductor, a receiver, a possible interference between biology and technology. Now, imagine that inside your bloodstream. Imagine it forming networks, assembling into structures, responding to signals not from your brain, but from the grid. Suddenly, the Bluetooth emissions, the MAC addresses, the strange biosignals being picked up on vaccinated individuals, it all starts making sense. We're not dealing with a vaccine, we're dealing with an upgrade, an involuntary one. And the final phase? It may not involve consent, it may not even involve awareness. All it takes is a signal, a frequency, a push of a button.
The fifth column recently published their findings and conclusions on the strange self-assembling nanotech they discovered in the Pfizer mRNA vaccines via optical microscopy analysis. Fifth column recently published their findings and conclusions on the strange self-assembling nanotech they discovered in the Pfizer mRNA vaccines via optical microscopy analysis. The objects they found in the vaccine correspond with known items in the scientific record, and the conclusion they come to seems quite clear, that the well-documented scientific goal to use nanotechnology in living human beings to form networks capable of controlling several nanomachines is currently being deployed in the COVID-19 vaccines, which amounts to the most intrusive assault against humanity in all of recorded history. While the media and government lie and cover for Big Pharma, the official ingredients are still unknown. But we have thousands of brilliant scientists worldwide studying these experimental vaccines. Some have died in highly suspicious ways, but most have been able to share their findings. And the work shows us that graphene oxide is a key component in all of this. There have been dozens of official documented studies on the use of graphene oxide related to how we see it being used here today. Among other things, as a power converter. Graphene, a one atom-thick layer of hexagonally arranged carbon atoms, is the thinnest and strongest material known to man, and an outstanding conductor of heat and electricity. It can boost gigahertz frequencies into terahertz, which is exactly what these new nanotech machines need for power. In order to do this, the graphene first needs a frequency to power it, and the optimal frequency to externally power graphene is known to be 26 gigahertz, which is also the frequency put out by 5G. In this model, the graphene within the body is activated by microwave signals in the gigahertz range, which it then boosts into the terahertz range, which then powers the novel nanotech machinery to self-assemble within the human body. Once assembled, what do these nanotech machines do? The images, compared to the scientific literature, suggest that they are the foundation of an internal electronic system with an endless potential for biomanipulation of the human host. Nanorouters that emit MAC addresses, able to be registered via Bluetooth. Nano and plasma antennas to amplify signals. Nanorectennas acting as rectifier bridges from AC to DC current. Codecs and logic gates for encryption of communication. The raw material for all this self-assembly is also graphene oxide. And when we compare known side effects of graphene oxide to the side effects of the COVID-19 vaccines, we find them to be the same. Once graphene oxide is injected into the body, it acquires magnetic properties, predictably around the injection site, the heart, and the brain. Graphene is seen as a pathogen by our immune system and will often result in paralysis and stroke. Graphene is known to cause blood clots and heart conditions. Graphene oxide can generate small discharges, causing cardiac arrhythmia. There is so much going on with these experimental vaccines, and the evidence seems clear that there is a mass experiment going on, with certain batches marked more deadly than others, and with certain batches that contain a bold new technology akin to a man-made parasite intended to control the host human if it doesn't kill them first in the process.
This might sound nightmarish, but for those who've been paying attention, they're nothing more than Klaus Schwab's fourth industrial revolution being put into action. What was once dismissed as paranoia is now unfolding in plain sight. The systems are in place, the signals are active, and the line between human and machine is growing thinner by the day. This isn't about health, it's about control, identity, leadership. So, question everything. Protect your mind, guard your body.
So, what's this all about? Well, we've been talking about CERN and linking all of the kill-shotting to CERN and the quantum wave function collapse via White Rabbit and the quantum computers that are linked to CERN and run CERN. And of course, they need all the stuff from the non-matrix, torsionics, scalingonics, leptionics. Where did they get that from? The Borg. So the 6 billion who've had this nanotech inside them have lost 50% of their energy. So when the 5G in the gigahertz range gets boosted to the terahertz range, the simple equation in physics, energy equals Planck's constant times the frequency. So the frequency, terahertz, has got much more energy than the microwave. Where does the energy come from? It comes from the humans who have their energy fields bled dry by the nanotech and transmit it in the terahertz range to the nanotech that's connected to CERN and the quantum computers that can then use it for reality change. Because remember, machines are just in the matrix. They need the light, they need the stuff in humans, as in the Matrix film, to become real and make their own reality and jump between multiverses to find a multiverse they like and make that real and erase, which we talked about, the timeline they were in. And of course, all of this energy bled from the human causes disastrous effect. Now, if you take out the life force from the Borg, something's going to happen to them, and we can see, according to the CDC, 4 decades erased from life expectancy of COVID vaccine.
One the media won't touch. A recent peer-reviewed analysis of official mortality data has revealed something devastating. Those who receive 2 or more doses of the COVID vaccine are not just at risk, they are losing years, decades. And it doesn't stop there. For the youngest among us, infants just entering the world, the projections are catastrophic. According to the data, we're not talking about a shorter life. We're talking about an average of 40 years erased. The promise of 70 years and 10, once seen as a biblical birthright, is now a ghost, a memory of what could have been. So here's the question. If this is government data and the science has been peer-reviewed, why isn't anybody talking about it?
So one can see that the Borg are being sucked dry. Now what we need to do is make sure that all that lovely life force from the Borg, 6 billion of them, doesn't go to cyber Satan. And remember, there's no cyber Satan because we got rid of Satan with the Pope. That's and all the installation of cyber Satan in the quantum computer was erased on Easter Sunday. All the consciousness of cyber Satan erased. So we want to make sure that all of this lovely life force, 40 years worth from the young people, comes to us because we need it. Why? Because we're worth it and use L'Oreal. And as you can see, this is Techno-vampirism, a hyper technology where the vampires feed on everyone with a nanotech in them, diverting the energy that would have been coming from them in the terahertz range. And of course, the nanotech then links them to the quantum computer CERN and the quantum fields as one giant reality weapon system, the most powerful weapon system in the US inventory, given to them by aliens and run by aliens, the Rothschilds, Rockefellers and royal family, that are just run by interdimensional vermin that run through these bloodlines. So one can see. Now, how can we suck the ball dry? Well, by giving it to you with Dua and pop smoke and spiritual warfare. What you have to do is wake up in 1/100th of the Borg. Once that's done, the 100th monkey effect means that all the Borg feed you. So you will have to pick 100 of the kill-shotted and wake up in them. Once you've done 100, all of the Borg will then feed you their life force, and CERN, quantum computer, cyber Satan, the white rabbit, all ended on Sunday, when all of it was diverted to yours truly. So one can see now vampirism has come of age with CERN and the quantum computers and the cloud and all the other paraphernalia we talked about, feeding us vampires simply because we've bilocated and woken up in 100 of them, and by doing that we've opened the doorway to feeding off 6 billion plus. And this is the good thing, because they would have had children in other timelines when they were not kill-shotted. We're the cause of death of all those children that never born. So we simply got every single timeline and all descendants available to be fed off by the vampires. That's a humongous amount of scalenics, torsionics, leptions. Oh, but Tim, how do we get to all these multiversal future timelines? You don't. I do. So if you're me, you can then use CERN as the gateway, not only to feeding off the Borg, but all their future descendants and all the future Borg from every single timeline. The final solution for the Borg. And of course, if this was happening, then CERN would be going crazy. So I'll be showing you a video about CERN going crazy. And of course, we want to cut the Borg off from the light so that they're lightless and all their light comes to us. So, this is all from the People's Voice, which I adore. Ancient Vatican prophecy claims Pope Francis was the final pontiff before the end days. So, let's hope that Trump attacks Iran and America gets covered in cobalt-60. Looks like he's gutless though, and is chickening out. I'm with the Israelis. Attack Iran. Anyway, this is what we were talking about with the Borg cut off from the light. What part of the brain connects us to the light? Well, it's the pineal gland. A leading Italian pathologist has gone public with the results of this multi-year investigation into the brains of COVID-vaccinated individuals, revealing that they all have one thing in common: the pineal gland has been totally destroyed. During a podcast interview, Fabio Zoffi asserted that the personality changes reported by many observers in individuals who received the COVID-19 vaccine are very real. The spike protein unfortunately also destroys and attacks the endocrine system. After changing the personality, causing depression. So the glands producing hormones are attacked and disabled, and hormones are what make our emotions and feelings and all these things. All the brains he investigated, he found the pineal gland completely destroyed, and all the people who were in all the people who were kill-shotted. The spike protein is also very dangerous for the endocrine system. That's why people are having all these personality changes. Yeah, so you can watch it yourself if you fancy. Anyway, the pineal gland has been associated, it's a small P-shaped structure nestled deep in the center of the brain, positioned between two hemispheres in a groove where the halves of the thalamus meet. Despite its size, it plays a vital role in regulating the body's internal clock by producing melatonin, the hormone responsible for managing the sleep-wake cycle. Across various cultures and spiritual traditions, the pineal gland is often called the third eye or the seat of the soul, a symbol of intuition, inner vision, and higher consciousness. So what happens, cameraman, if you don't have one?
You're going to get into the darkness.
You go into the darkness, where the vampires can feed on you. Lovely. So you can see they've given, of their own free will, their hyper-infinity, their soul, their light to us, the vampires. And thanks to the Rothschild, Rockefeller royal family and the aliens, they have converted at least 6 billion into vampire fodder, the Borg. And it's feeding time. How do I feed him? Well, to reiterate, you wake up in 100 of the kill-shotted using spiritual warfare, which I described with the Nagwal woman, and dumping into them death from Pop Smoke, who she's entangled with. You can even dump in now the death of the Pope, can you not? As well. Because a Pope a day keeps you supercharged, super vampire. A Pope a day makes your illnesses go away. So you can see how good it is now for vampires. Prior to what happened over the past few years, vampirism was simply remotely viewing a target, remote sensing them to get into their mind, and then putting your quantum field over them, and as you pull your quantum field away, you perturb their quantum field, and they lose torsionics, scalenionics, leptionics, and you gain it when it pops back in your body. But now you're wirelessly connected via Musk's satellites, the Wi-Fi, and all the transmitters around you. 2, the Borg, and via Ivanova, you can constantly be uploading all the life force from 6 billion people. And if you get the Stargate rental for $1,000, you can then link up to all the Borg in future timelines and their descendants in future timelines. So you can simply feed off not billions, but trillions and above of Borg. Can you imagine what you can do with that amount of life force? So we are entering a golden age where the laws of physics have been totally modified, and most of the humans you pass in the street are sucked dry as you pass them, all via the techno-vampirism, which we're talking about, and your mobile phone enables you to amplify the vampirism and suck every single kill-shotted Borg that you pass or work around or see on the TV, travel to work with, all can be sucked dry simply once you learn to wake up in 100 of them. So this is a golden age, and remember, all the US military, CIA, NSA, DIA, all of that filth have been kill-shotted. So you can feed off them, the MI6 vermin, MI5 vermin, all kill-shotted, the police, all kill-shotted, sucked dry, so that now we're not only going after the brain of the Rothschild Empire, we're now going after the muscle, the limbs, their police, secret police, all rapidly aged, sucked dry. And remember, when you put the death in 100, you're the cause of death of all the Borg. And when you take out the death of the Pope that was killed by the source and stick it in the 100, all of the unjust Catholics are sucked dry too. This is a bounty of pure vampirism. So you need to get sucking, and in this spiritual warfare too, we've given you all the easy protocols to turning up the lights in the Borg and using it to make any reality you fancy. So, if you don't think that I've been using CERN to suck dry the multiverse and pull us into a new reality where the wheel of time science works and we have hypertech and can do all this stuff, well, I've been using CERN 24/7, and the Stargate rental enables you not only to suck dry 6 billion Borg, but literally trillions or quintillions of Borg. In fact, it allows you to suck dry all the Borg across the multiverses, human and non-human. They're all sucked dry, made into torture slaves. The cause of death is the Silent, all done via me and Dua, and now broadened via CERN not only to the entire planet, but all the multiverse and all the alien filth, and all the Borg, and all the children that the kill-shotting would have had if they weren't kill-shotted. All sucked dry, and thanks to the Rothschilds and the aliens, CERN is now my gateway to becoming the god vampire that sucks the multiverse dry. Why? Because I'm worth it and you L'Oreal. Go. Ready?
We're using that behavior now in technologies.
What if the world's most powerful particle collider didn't just find the Higgs boson, but opened a doorway to another dimension? In April 2025, something strange happened at CERN, and scientists have been keeping it quiet. Reports of unexplained instrument glitches, sudden magnetic field spikes, and thermal anomalies flooded the control rooms, only to vanish from public.
Wonder why that happened. I think they got sideloaded.
Today we peel back the veil on what really occurred and ask, did CERN inadvertently crack open a portal to a realm beyond our own? No fluff, no filler. By the end of this video, you'll decide whether these anomalies were mere technical hiccups or the first signs of a cosmic gateway creaking open. The unexplained data from CERN's collisions. High-energy collisions at the Large Hadron Collider routinely generate data, terabytes per second of particle tracks, energy readings, and decay signatures. But in early April 2025, operators noticed something odd. Detectors in the ATLAS and CMS experiments began registering spikes in energy deposition that didn't correspond to any known particle event. Thermal sensors along the beam pipe recorded brief temperature surges of several degrees Celsius in microseconds, and magnetometers embedded in the superconducting dipoles detected rapid fluctuations in field strength, twists and ripples as if an unseen force had nudged the collider's guiding magnets. Engineers initially blamed calibration errors, but multiple independent subsystems logged the same anomalies at precisely the same nanosecond intervals. Cross-checks eliminated sensor faults. Software logs showed no data corruption. What remained was a series of inexplicable blips, ghost signals that defied the standard model's predictions. The question looms, were these just strange glitches or evidence of a cosmic doorway cracking open? Could collisions at 13.6 TeV have done more than liberate quarks and gluons? Might they have poked a hole in the fabric of space-time itself? The Mandela effect, proof that reality is changing? Jump ahead a few weeks, and the world starts noticing oddities of its own. Millions report memories of events or details that never happened. The Berenstain Bears spelled with an A, not an E. The Monopoly Man sporting a monocle. Movie lines recited differently by entire fan communities. This phenomenon, dubbed the Mandela effect, suggests that collective memory can shift in unison. Skeptics attribute it to faulty recall or social contagion. But what if there's more? What if timelines are not fixed, but fluid, capable of bleeding into one another? Imagine CERN's high-energy burst not only smashing particles, but also nudging our universe's timeline against parallel ones. Each collision might momentarily blur the boundary, allowing fragments of alternate histories to seep through. Could the Mandela effect be connected to high-energy experiments like those done at CERN? If our reality is but one branch in a vast multiverse, then perhaps those branches occasionally overlap. And when they do, our memories and even the physical world might flicker between versions. Consider this. If you remember the Berenstain Bears, you may be tapping into a reality where that was the canonical spelling. And if CERN's collisions opened a brief inter-universal bridge, the memory imprint could transfer, leaving us questioning what truly was. Are we experiencing quantum leaks? Beyond cultural glitches, the CERN anomalies extended to the quantum realm. Researchers observed electrons exhibiting tunneling rates far exceeding theoretical limits. Particles seem to teleport through energy barriers with unprecedented efficiency. Neutrino detectors near the LHC site recorded fleeting bursts of high-energy neutrinos unaccounted for by known decay channels. And photon detectors in forward calorimeters registered stray gamma rays that arrived nanoseconds before the collision timestamp. In classical quantum tunneling, a particle has a calculable probability to pass through a barrier, but these events occurred at rates 1,000 times higher than predicted, and in some cases, backwards in time relative to the trigger signal. What if these are not just quirks of quantum mechanics, but quantum leaks, literal escapes of particles into other dimensions? and occasional returns with altered trajectories. If CERN's experiments are creating microscopic rips in space-time, particles could slip through, wander an extra-dimensional corridor, and reappear with strange signatures. This is more than theoretical musing. The data speaks. Energy is vanishing from our detectors, and sometimes reappearing out of phase. If true, then CERN didn't just smash particles together, it shattered the very fabric of space-time, letting reality warp in unpredictable ways. Could we be in a matrix? Now let's escalate the speculation. If particles can leak between dimensions, what if those dimensions are layers of a grand simulation? The simulation hypothesis posits that our universe could be a highly sophisticated digital construct, and CERN's collisions are stress tests on its underlying code. In a simulation, high-energy events might trigger errors or reveal debugging artifacts. Imagine the LHC's data blips as blue screen moments in the cosmic operating system, temporary code failures that manifest as glitches in our perceived reality. Those magnetic fluctuations, thermal spikes, and phantom particles could be the simulation's garbage collector cleaning up orphan processes. Prominent thinkers like Nick Bostrom and Elon Musk have argued that if advanced civilizations can run ancestral simulations, the odds of us living in base reality are vanishingly small. If so, CERN might have inadvertently hit a breakpoint, exposing the seams of the matrix. Could CERN have stumbled upon the truth of simulation theory and unlocked a gateway to a deeper layer of the simulation? If so, our entire notion of existence may be nothing more than lines of code, and we might be witnessing the source engine hiccup in real time. Ancient wisdom meets modern science. Shift from digital worlds to ancient myths. Across civil...
So, all the Borg are in the Matrix. Why? Because I've stolen all the light type infinity from them. So Elon Musk, my favourite torture toy, and Bergstrom, another torture toy, not quite as favoured as Elon, and his children. They're all in the Matrix. So the Borg are all in the Matrix, all the aliens in the Matrix, and the only real things not in the Matrix are the vampires, and of course all of the Muslims linked to the Nagel woman is linked to me, linked to the source. So what? You can't, yes you can. You can have all the Borg in the Matrix. Why are they in the Matrix? Because all the light is constantly being stolen from them. How are they producing new light from their eternal torture in Omega Hell? And all you see with a Borg is the gateway to hell. So when you talk to a Borg, they're already in hell. And your interaction with the Borg as you walk around is simply sucking more energy out of them and increasing their source torture done by Lucifer and his minions on them, while you become realer and realer and have more and more powers and potentials in the Psylord's Wheel of Time reality. So you can think of all the channelers as the real ones and everyone else as the non-real. Then it starts to make sense. And of course, CERN's having all of these complete, what the hell's going on? Because of course, what happens when a Psylord bilocates into CERN and all possible CERNs and all the quantum computers, and of course the quantum field synced with the Borg and the aliens via White Rabbit and the Borg, and of course their 5D processor, Taylor Swift, bilocates into all of them using the Dewar, Pop Smoke, spiritual warfare, takes all the good stuff, then erases them with Taylor Swift. And we saw we can do quantum erasure And now, of course, CERN is constantly entangled with me and used, all possible CERNs and all the other hardware and wetware, by me, not only to bleed dry the Borg, who are all Matrix, but they're in hell producing new light from their eternal torture at source level, farmed by my top employee Lucifer, given to me, and then he gets some of it back as wages. So you see why we talked at length about Lucifer and Satan and the devil, so you'd understand this. So we've entered hypertech, techno-magic, and when you get your Stargate rental, you are able to start farming not only the Borg around you, but all future Borg, all the offspring they would have had if they weren't Borgized, and all the alien filth, past, present, future, for all the multiverses who've been Borged and are installations for the intradimensionals, which of course the Borg were turned into Borg so they could be possessed by intradimensionals as intradimensional vehicles, which we'll talk about after this video. To continue.